The Chinese military has collapsed significantly. Xi Jinping has purged the Chinese military. As you may know, Zhang Yuxia and other key high-ranking officials have all been purged. According to foreign media reports, there is clear evidence of weakened military power within the Chinese military. The Chinese military has become weaker. Today, let's take a closer look at this topic. Let's get right into it. Before we begin, 70% of viewers who watch my videos haven't subscribed yet. It would mean a lot if you could hit the subscribe button. Thank you. On January 24th, Zhang Yuxia and Ryu Zhongni were reportedly purged for serious violations such as party discipline violations and bribery. Currently, a large-scale purge is underway within the Chinese military. Wei, the third highest in the military and vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, and Ma Ho, former head of its political work department, were expelled from the party and military for major disciplinary and job-related crimes. This was officially announced. Since the anti-corruption purge of the rocket force began in 2023, Chinese military generals have been falling one after another. In 2022, serious corruption issues and internal leaks of confidential information were revealed within the rocket force, which Chairman Xi Jinping had strategically focused on. After that, those responsible became targets of a series of purges. Even former Defense Minister Li Shangfu, responsible for advanced weapons, was purged in 2024, which was shocking. According to current figures, since Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, the number of Chinese military generals who have been purged has exceeded 110. If this number is only for generals, the total purged officers, including field and company grade, likely reaches several hundred now. A Wall Street Journal report says that in the last 2 years, over 50 top military officers and defense industry executives have been purged, an unprecedented level since Mao Zedong's era. Chairman Xi Jinping's purge of the Chinese military has allowed him to fully monopolize military power and control the use of lethal force. Currently, only Vice Chairman Jiang Songmin remains in the Central Military Commission leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. Originally, it was composed of 7 members, but now only 2 remain, Xi Jinping and Jiang Xiangmin. The issue is that the purge in the Chinese military is occurring too aggressively and too quickly. A military organization needs a tightly connected chain of command from top to bottom in order to function, but if you sweep away the key commanders all at once like this, the combat capability itself is bound to be structurally shaken. Of course, the level of equipment, the size of the troops, and the intensity of training are also important, right? A key factor in winning or losing a war is real combat experience. An experienced commander knows what is truly dangerous on the battlefield, what is mere bravado, and when the troops will break. Combat can't be completely replaced by manuals or simulations, because things often don't go as planned in battle, or you might fall into panic when a comrade dies. Having a lot of real combat experience is necessary to handle these situations smoothly. People say the United States military is seen as the world's strongest, not just for its advanced weapons, but for decades of combat command experience from the Gulf War to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. But right now, during the purges, the Chinese military has even expelled key figures who actually had real combat experience. Many people think the Chinese military has no real combat experience at all, but that's not entirely true. Zhang Yuxia and Liu Zhongli belong to the generation that experienced combat. Zhang Yuxia has experience participating as a company commander during the 1979 Sino-Vietnamese War, and Liu Zhongli was deployed as a frontline company commander at the age of 22 in the 1986 Laotian battle on the China-Vietnam border, where he repelled more than 30 attacks. Someone who has actually experienced war instinctively knows how to control soldiers when they are terrified and how to endure when supplies are cut off. Now, as these people are also being purged from the Chinese military, analysts say the generation with war experience is being removed from the organization. More concerning is that the Chinese military's command currently has gaps. In wartime, it must quickly finalize plans and coordinate troops and supplies. But the high-ranking generals responsible for this are currently largely vacant. By Korean standards, the rank of general, equivalent to a 4-star general, is normally maintained at around 30 to 40 people. You need that many theater commanders and people overseeing operations, intelligence, and logistics to manage a national-scale war. But after this purge, there are reports that only 4 generals of that rank are left. This means that the top officials who are supposed to actually conduct the war and make operational decisions have almost disappeared. In this situation, if a war breaks out, it's unclear who will make the final decisions and who will take responsibility. Of course, Chairman Xi Jinping is likely to quickly promote young generals who are loyal to him and try to reorganize the structure. But the problem is whether those young generals can actually make independent decisions. The generation that has directly witnessed the purges will inevitably prioritize political survival above all else. Even at moments when the right decision must be made in battle, if calculations about whether this judgment might jeopardize their political safety come into play, the military turns from a combat organization into one that competes for loyalty. When that happens, the reporting system becomes distorted, and only what the higher-ups want to hear gets reported. In fact, this phenomenon has been repeated countless times throughout history. In war, the harsh reality on the ground must be reported as it is, but when the fear of purges intensifies, field commanders end up repeating only statements that suggest there are no problems. And as this builds up, at some point when war breaks out, it explodes into a major misjudgment. This kind of situation was also seen in the Soviet military during the Stalin era. The Great Purge removed capable officers, collapsing the command system. As a result, at World War II's start, they couldn't respond effectively to the German invasion and suffered heavy losses. The reason why some analysts are saying that the Chinese military might be heading down a similar path is that, due to the purges, the organization isn't becoming more stable. Instead, if the entire military becomes a structure where everyone is just watching each other, their actual ability to conduct war could decline. Some analysts even say that this could actually make China more dangerous. People often assume a weakened military can't wage war, but history shows the opposite is true. When a military is unstable and command falters, leaders have frequently chosen war as a drastic step, especially as in the current Chinese military. When experienced figures are removed through purges and the power structure turns into a competition of loyalty, there is a greater chance that war becomes a political choice rather than a military decision. Kang Yuxia was cautious about invading Taiwan for a reason. Someone with real combat experience doesn't view war as a game. That's because they know from experience how quickly troop losses occur once a war starts, and how rapidly the social atmosphere collapses. People who have seen firsthand how terrifying war is are actually less likely to talk about war lightly. The issue is that cautious leaders were purged and replaced by young, loyal hardliners like Kang Yuxia under Chairman Xi Jinping. The problem isn't the young general's competence, but the system itself. Currently, there are strong suspicions that the Chinese military is promoting officers based on loyalty instead of merit. Those who have seen the purges fear that any mistake could end their careers. So rather than offering real advice to avoid war, they just say what the higher-ups want? Only optimistic reports like Taiwan can be occupied quickly, or the United States military won't intervene, end up being submitted. If these kinds of reports are repeated, the leadership actually comes to believe them. And this creates an even more dangerous mindset where they decide that an actual war is worth trying. What's even more serious is that war becomes not a military operation, but a test of loyalty. The generals who survive the purge have to prove their loyalty to the Xi Jinping regime. So what's the most powerful way to prove it? It's to actively support a national decision like the invasion of Taiwan. Those who speak out aggressively are recognized as loyalists, while those who advocate caution can be branded as cowards. Then, anti-war opinions within the military gradually disappear. There is now analysis suggesting that the Chinese military is entering this very structure. As the purges continue, the number of people inside who can offer reasonable advice decreases, and only those who show off their loyalty survive. The longer those people stay, the more they risk giving leaders dangerous overconfidence, like thinking Taiwan can be easily taken. If only yes men surround Chairman Xi Jinping, war might result from political decisions rather than realistic calculations. That's why there are warnings that the weakening of the Chinese military might not actually lower the possibility of war, but rather increase the risk of miscalculation. Recently, China has moved shipyards that repair warships closer to Taiwan's coast and is rapidly building long-range drone factories in southern China. They are also mass-producing unmanned combat ships, known as drone aircraft carriers, there. The Chinese military is showing signs of quickly preparing for war. Maybe they've already made their choice. Right now, the Chinese military is significantly weakened. What do you all think about the current situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's the end of this video. Thank you.